Welcome to the Startup of the Year podcast, where each episode we showcase exciting new companies from around the world. This podcast is produced by Established, creators of the Startup of the Year program. Established is focused on helping organizations with their innovation, startup, and communication strategies.
Hey there, welcome back to the Start With Your Podcast. Frank Gruber here. I'm the host and co-founder and co-CEO of Established, as well as managing partner at Established Ventures. Excited to be here today. Today we've got a powerful story for you. We'll be hearing from Amy Beckley. She's the founder and CEO of a company called Proov, a company on a mission to help women and take control of their reproductive health. Amy is part of the Established Ventures portfolio, and she's been a longtime supporter of our community, so we're excited to have her back. The conversation was led by our own Jamilah Corbitt at one of our monthly innovation circles. If you haven't heard about these, you should definitely check them out. They're hosted monthly on the Established Network. It's our growing community of founders, investors, and change makers. And to be a part of it, all you have to do is grab a spot. Go to est.us/the mic 2025. Again, it's est.us/the mic 2025. These sessions happen every third Thursday, and trust me, you won't want to miss them because there's always a great speaker and a lot of just great information for those that are out there doing things in the world that are in the innovation space. So, all right, let's jump right in. Jamilah's conversation with Amy Beckley.
Here we go. Without further ado, I'd like to welcome our guest, Dr. Amy Beckley. She is the founder and inventor of Proov, an at-home hormone monitoring and diagnostic platform. They're also, like I mentioned before, an Established Ventures portfolio company and one of our former top 100 startups from our Startup of the Year program. See how everything is just connecting? Proov started as a bootstrapped company before being funded through grants from the NSF and AFWorks, as well as venture capital and angel investors. And we're going to really dive into that. So, Amy, thank you so much for joining us today.
That was probably one of the best intros I've ever gotten, so thank you for that. Thanks for having me.
Yes, it is a privilege and a pleasure to have you back here with us. We love our alumni. We love you. And so, Amy, let's start from the beginning. You've had a lot of success, specifically over the last 6 years, and it really does seem like your company started rapidly accelerating in 2019. But we know that you're far from an overnight success because of you've been doing the work. So, can you share your why for starting a company, and then how you were able to bring your idea to fruition and actually produce a product?
Yeah, so I'm a scientist. I have a PhD in pharmacology, and I was just it's a science nerd working in the lab, and here I am thinking I'm a smart, badass scientist, and how easy would it be to get pregnant? Well, it wasn't. It was very difficult, and I had multiple miscarriages, and I had to do multiple rounds of IVF. And long story short is it was just due to a simple hormone imbalance, and I didn't need all that pain, all that waiting, all that expense. I just needed a better diagnostic system, but it hadn't been invented yet. So I took the initiative to invent said system. And so in the market are, what we call ovulation tests to help you time when to have intercourse if you're trying to conceive naturally. That wasn't my problem. My problem was I had a hormone imbalance that didn't allow me to hold a pregnancy. And so what we invented was a test. It is now FDA cleared, but it's FDA cleared to confirm ovulation and measure a hormone called PDG, which is a progesterone metabolite. This is a hormone you produce after you ovulate that helps you sustain a pregnancy. It's also the happy hormone, and it's the hormone that goes and causes women to have heavy periods, PMS, perimenopause symptoms in their 40s, as well as the lovely miscarriages and infertility that we experience. So I really got super passionate about female hormones and how we just didn't know enough. Women just didn't have options, and though they were just kind of stuck in traditional healthcare because we didn't know enough. So I started a crowdfunding campaign, and I bootstrapped it the first couple years, and I got it to a certain point, and I was like, if I'm really gonna have people know what this is and build a business and change the lives that I want to change, like I've got to kind of, open my network and get investment dollars. We bootstrapped it because I live in Denver. I don't know investors. Um, I'm not a fancy, self-made millionaire or anything. So we did that, and then I started going to events. That's actually where I got connected with Established and their ecosystem, which literally was life-changing. I mean, I think that 18-19 period of our time was this pivotal period that we really like excelled our growth. We didn't have a box, we didn't have a name. We were selling this thing in a plastic bag. It was pretty shady looking, to be honest. And it wasn't really until I got kind of plugged in with this network that we really just took off as a brand and as a company.
Uh, thank you for that. That was actually a really glowing testimonial. And since then, like I said, you've been able to accelerate. And so you actually received the SBIR phase 1 grant from NSF, National Science Foundation. I'm trying not to do the alphabet soup. So the National Science Foundation, you've also had contracts awarded from AFWorks, the Air Force Research Laboratory in late 2019, I think in 2020. So can you walk us through the initial decision to pursue SBIR funding? Because if you're new to the business, it's not, I don't think it's top of mind, like, oh, let me go after SBIR funding. You are a scientist. So that's one part of the question. And then the next part of the question is if there was the difference in the programs between NSF and AFWorks or Air Force.
Mhm. Yeah, so the first one we did was the AFWorks with the Air Force. I'm going to talk about that one first. And that is not something that at all crossed my mind at any form or at all. It wasn't until I went to one of the Startup of the Year events, and it's such a cool thing. So, like, if you're listening and you haven't gone to one, highly recommend because they have a bunch of people that they match you with and they do matchmaking. And one of the things that I was matched with was one of the program officers at AFWorks. And I'm like, I don't know what this is. She's like, we have all this money we're trying to give to companies, and I think this is perfect. I'm like, well, what does the military have to do with fertility rates? And she's like, it has everything to do with fertility rates. Like, we have people that are trying to have families, and if we don't provide benefits to our families, then, we don't retain people within the Air Force. I was like, oh, good point. And so she really like helped me walk through like that, yes, like you should apply for this because I didn't realize that this was even an option to us. So if you're building anything in tech, anything especially if it's like the military could use it, like yes, absolutely. But even if the military as a organization can't use it, you think about it as these are just people, these are families. How could the military support their families? Well, you want to give them good benefits. You want to help them grow their families, to appreciate the military, to have generations of military and keep them retained for a long time. Um, so yeah, that's kind of how we got involved with it.
And that's a really good point that you made, where when you think of a defense-backed technology, you're not fertility isn't really top of mind. You're thinking, oh, well, let me help missiles or something to do with war or
Yeah.
something to do with guarding our country. But yeah, you made a point to say that they're people too. The military, they're people too, and so they need this just mainstream technology just to support their staff. And so, can you again, if you comparing the Air Force and the National Science Foundation, because Air Force was first, and then the National Science Foundation was your second SBIR. So, can you share the differences between the two? Because I know those are two different programs, two different operating structures. So what was your experience like with the NSF?
Yeah, it was very different. The NSF is more of a so the AFWorks military side is like, could you make a case for it? It's like dual use, and I was like, okay, actually, infertility rates are 3 times higher in the military than they are in the civilian world for a variety of reasons. It's the stress of their job, the toxins, the physical separation between spouses, the access to fertility clinics. And so we had this at-home test that could help you get treatment and all those types of things without physically being located to a fertility center. And so that's ultimately why we got, the phase 2 award as well. Um, NSF, or National Science Foundation, is definitely different. This is the topic, here's the sentence. If you don't fall 100% within the sentence, like you don't, you can't apply. But some of the sentences are very broad. So it's like a new type of medical device. That's really broad. And so there's lots of different topics on there. That organization likes to fund risky science. So they like to be the first money in to help us do better. And so it's really hard as a company to do anything new or innovative because nobody wants to fund that. It's a very risky thing to do, right? If you're an investor, you want to make sure you get your money back. If you're a bank, you want to get your money back. And so if you're doing risky science, where you're like, I'm not sure this is going to work, that's a really good place to go because the NSF is trying to put small bets on companies to have a large impact because it's all about increasing innovation within the US and making us like a tech hub and just being like, the best country we could be with the most innovation and cool stuff going on. And so it's a little bit different, but anything you at all qualify for, I would say definitely try to apply for.
Yeah, and thank you for that because what I'm hearing is that by participating in these programs, they actually were able to de-risk the technology to a certain extent so that it then sets you up for private funding. And so beyond, I think that's a benefit, but beyond the financial aspect and what I just shared, what other non-monetary support were you able to gain from these programs?
So the NSF had a program where it was called like I-Corp or something, where they would fund you to go talk to people to get like market reports, or you can talk to people about business plans, about piloting your tech. So there's a lot of like extra things that they're trying to do because again, they're trying to help you build a successful business. And part of that is not just, is the product work, is the widget work? It's like, how do you build a business around it? There's a difference between a product and a business. So you're the best product in the world, but if you don't have a solid business foundation to get that product commercialized and into people's hands, you don't have a business.
Yeah, you don't actually. And so, how did securing government funding influence Proof's credibility and subsequent ability to attract that private investment?
Yeah, I think it was like a bonus, I guess. Oh, the government invested and now my money goes further, right? If it's going to take us $2 million to develop whatever tech and the government gave them 500,000 of it, my money is going to go further, right? And so you get more kind of piece of the pie from the investors because they call it free money. I'll tell you, it's not free. It
There's
takes a
always
lot of
strings,
work.
strings attached.
It is a lot of work to get government dollars. So you're putting like sweat equity, you're putting your time into it, but free as in like, it's not equity within your company, you're not owners of your company.
And so, for other founders considering the SBIR route, what advice would you give them regarding identifying the right agencies and maybe crafting their proposal?
So we did this proposal in 2019 and 20 and into 21, and I feel like it's a different environment now, but before we went on the website and we like, followed the rules, and so it said do this, okay, this. I think it's a lot more difficult now. There's this aspect of like you have to do exactly what it says, and if you miss anything, it's like a good way to just kind of like get your application thrown in the trash. So I would actually recommend looking for like grant writers or organizations that can kind of help with all that red tape stuff. And spend a significant amount of time on it because a lot of it is like you didn't put it in the right font, on the right size, on the right form. And it's like, you spent all this time writing this great thing and it can't even be submitted or something ridiculous.
Oh yeah. That would suck in a major way. So
Yeah.
were you able to receive any technical assistance to help you craft your proposal, or did you go through any SBDCs in Colorado or other ESOs?
Yeah. I totally forgot about that. Yeah, we have a small business development center here in Colorado, and they actually got us in contact with a grant writer who gave us a few free hours to put things together. So that's a great resource. Many bigger cities have these and can do some, pro bono work for you.
Yeah. And so again, if you're watching this, please check out the local SBDCs in your area. And there are other technical assistance programs. There's people out there that are actually getting government dollars to help you in the SBIR, STTR programs. And we know this because we work directly with the people that are that are funding these programs. So again, check out your
Yeah.
local resources.
Yeah, so you said SBIR and STTR. So SBIR is just small business and STTR is with a university. And so
Yeah,
that's a
so
really good point is when we did our NSF, we worked with a university, even though it was under the SBIR. So it was a business doing it, and we put some of our dollars into the university so that we could keep our IP. But that relationship with the university really helped us. And so that's a good place to start for companies too, is there any universities that you can work with to help you advance the tech or do a clinical study or something where you guys can work together? Because when you have that collaboration between business and university, you tend to get funding a little bit easier than if you're just a business.
yep.
Why,
And
but
eh, who knows? So I'm gonna pivot a little bit, and I want to move beyond the government funding. And so you've also have been very successful in raising significant capital beyond government funding. So can you discuss your overall funding strategy and how it evolved from your initial seed round to later stages?
Yeah, so we started with bootstrapping. We got through about probably like the first year and a half with bootstrapping. And then there's a program here in Colorado that it's for the advanced industry. So if you work in biotech, healthcare, engineering, there's a grant program where they'll give you 250,000 if you have 500,000 of matching. And so that was our first priced round. We brought in venture capital, we brought some angels, some friends and family, and they gave us 700,000 and then the state gave us 250,000. And so that was like a really, really good head start. And the reason we were able to raise that angel money is because we had those like bonus dollars. And there's a lot of states that have programs like that. So I would definitely, Google it, reach out, chat GPT it, see if there's something like that in the state that you live in. Um, and then our next round of funding actually came from an accelerator program initially. So there's a lot of accelerator programs out there. And so definitely do your homework and, there's goods and bads and it's not, like this one's good, that one's bad, depending on who you are. But there's accelerator programs that will fund you. So they'll give you some money and some mentorship. There's also ones that will ask you to pay them for mentorship, which is a little not usually a good idea when you don't have money yourself. Or there's some like, services, this and that, but like try to find one of those because it's not necessarily is the networking, it's the people that you know and those resources. So as you're starting, especially your first company, to get in that ecosystem and to know people, right? Like we didn't know what established was, and we got introduced by one of our angel investors here in Denver. And so we got plugged in and it was transformational because we learned about this grant. And then we, went to South by Southwest and won that regional and just got connected into the ecosystem. And so that really just kick-started our fundraising because that network, you get like this tribe and this like community around you is really, really important.
Yeah, and I totally agree. And that's one of the reasons why we developed Established Network, and this hub that we're building is to have all of these components coalesce. Because at first, everything is kind of I won't say siloed. I want to say siloed, but I don't think that's the right word. But we've been doing this for years. And like you're a great success story. We want to multiply that effect times 100. And that's one of the reasons why we developed Established Network. And so back to the funding, how do you decide what when you're seeking additional funding, what factors influence your choice between the type of investors? So VCs, strategic investors, angel groups, what factors influence that decision?
A lot of times it's how much money you need, and is it just money, or is it networking? Is it connections? Is it experience? And so angels, you just need money, to kickstart. But when you start going into like VCs or more strategic angels, it's because they were at so and so company and they have a certain expertise and they're going to be on your board and they're going to be your advisor or they're going to open doors for you. And so when you think about that, you don't want to, it's called what, smart money and dumb money. You want smart money, you want the money plus the resources to help, solve problems, get to where you're going. I mean, I'm a scientist. I can do really amazing sciencey things. I built an app. I know nothing about apps. I hate apps, to be honest. And so I had to get people around my circle, around my network that could build a really good app because I couldn't do that, wasn't my skill set. So you really want to surround yourself with complementary people to fill out that skill set as you're starting to raise capital.
And as you were raising your capital, what are some of the red flags that you've seen that you'd like to warn other founders should be aware of?
Uh, when they're just very short with the conversation and they're just like rapid firing questions at you, that's a big red flag for me. When they don't stop and kind of ask you why you did this, what's the why, tell me about your journey, what's in the future. They don't care. Building a business is a long-term thing, and you have to really have someone in your corner. It's like not that you want them to be your friend, but like think about as you're building your friendships, you want people around you that are good people. You don't want mean or short or yeah.
You just want good people around. I totally understand, especially if they're going to get a board seat or you're going to have to interact with them every single day. You want a good person that's by your side. So, what were some of the big, and
Yeah,
that leads to the
100%.
next question. Oh, I'm sorry. Were you saying something? I think I
You're
froze. Okay, okay. So, what were some of the biggest lessons learned during your fundraising journey, both in terms of investor relations and also valuing the company?
good. Yeah, okay. So we bootstrapped, which was actually very unique. Most companies come in with an idea and then they raise money on it. And the typical funding pathway is you have an idea, we value that at about $4 million. You get some kind of traction and then you start to grow it from there. That's just the typical thing. We came in with revenues, with a product already in market, and we were told, well, that's still that same $4 million thing. And I said, no way, no way. And it almost kind of prevented us from raising what we should have because we had revenues. So if you backtrack on this idea, my idea on a napkin is a $50 billion idea on a napkin, right? That's what you're valuing is the idea, the potential, this amazing thing that you have. Versus this piece of paper says you made $100,000 last year. I'm going to now value you 2x revenue or 10x revenue to get you some valuation. And so you basically like, because you have revenue, you're almost getting a smaller valuation. And
Hmm.
it's just the way that venture works. It's just like very traditional thing is you raise money before you have any revenue, and it's the idea. And so we kind of, had a little bit of a handicap at the beginning because I didn't know the rules. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Just out of the box, did it differently. So that was one lesson that we learned along the way. And then the second one is um, if you have to raise multiple rounds, it's important to ask if there's something called follow-on investment or not. So typically funds are set in size and they say, we'll give you check sizes of this and that, and we're going to invest in 20 companies or whatever. The question we never asked was, do you allocate follow-on funds for additional rounds? Because what happened was with us, with COVID hit, all the funds basically just deployed all their capital. None of the funds have money right now. And so now when we're out raising, we don't have any follow-on capital from our current investors. We have to go get all new ones, which is even harder to do. And so thinking in advance ahead of that is when you're talking to them in your first round and say, hey, if I do really well, is there follow-on capital for the next round? And that's going to kind of help carry you through. So don't think of it as like, I just got to get through this one thing. Think of it as this is the journey. I'm going to map it out at each point along the way to kind of help you not kind of fall into those pitfalls.
Yeah, and thank you for that. Very, very valuable lessons learned. Sometimes you got to go through the fire to find out these hard lessons. So hopefully you're sparing another founder from making the same mistakes or following that same path that you have in those early days that would have been harder for you. All right, so I'm gonna switch gears again because I want to talk about you growing and scaling Proov. It's been a couple years now and you've just kind of blown up. So you all operate in such a sensitive and deeply personal health space. So how have you approached building that trust and credibility with your user base?
I mean, going through infertility and miscarriage myself, being a consumer myself, I understand, what's required to be successful of a brand in this space. And I've built the business to do that. So we have this amazing Facebook community where anybody can go and ask questions and feel supported. Our customer support team are humans that know our product frontwards, backwards, sideways, upside down, that can really just dive in and make sure they understand what's going on. And it's not some bot that, spits out the same answer every time. And it's just a very high touch, fully wraparound support to be there for these couples, these people that are going through this and support them on it. So it's just the way we've built the brand to be just kind of like the friend that they never had, and this piece of education and resource that hopefully will get them, get their hormones balanced and then get them pregnant and build the family they deserve to have.
Yeah, and I think that's really important as you've spoke to is the idea of building a community, especially with such a sensitive topic. And sounds like you've created brand advocates for the product. So if you've used the product, you can help other people that have gone through that journey as well. And as you've continued to grow, what has been the most significant challenges in scaling Proof's operations from manufacturing and supply chain and customer support?
Um, it's funding and marketing are the two that come straight to mind. Funding, women don't get VC dollars. It's like less than 2% of all VC money goes to women. And they expect women to do amazing, amazing, amazing things with $1, where men get way more. So that's really difficult to do. to build a business with very little funding. The second one is the marketing. This is something that if I, was in an elevator with somebody for 2 minutes and I had their undivided attention, I could explain them the value of Proov and why they needed it, and it could be all amazing, and they would leave the elevator being like, "Oh my God, my life has changed." It's not something you can be like, "Yep, my protein bar has more protein," or it's cleaner protein. Like there's not this like two-sentence thing. And so it just takes a lot of education. And what we're trying to do is provide another path to pregnancy, another path to hormone balancing and feeling better where this didn't ever exist in the world. And so it's a new market we're creating. And that just requires a lot of education, a lot of dollars, a lot of touch points. And when you have lack of funding, you put these two together, it's just really difficult to do.
Yeah, yeah, I can imagine. And so how do you approach product development and innovation at Proov?
We're consumer first. And so we always ask our consumers, what do you like? What do you want to see added? We crowdsourced the product itself. And so everything came from, her directly. We always are doing, customer um, services, listening to, our 1-star reviews, listening to our 5-star reviews, just going through and really understanding the pain points, just to give people the better product.
Yeah. And as a founder, how has your role evolved as Proov continues to grow? So from a startup to now more established company, how has your role evolved?
Yeah, I mean, I used to be in it all the time, in the Facebook group, responding directly to people, managing all our suppliers, just being there, answering customer support tickets. And now I get to, help be the voice of the company and create video and education content and go to conferences and educate and travel and do cool things like that.
Yeah. And as we're wrapping up, because you're so amazing and I really appreciate you sharing your journey and being here today with us. Looking ahead, what are the next major milestones or growth areas for Proov, and what challenges, if any, do you anticipate?
Yeah, that's an amazing question. So, we started this company to help women get pregnant and stay pregnant. And by understanding hormones, what we've done is now understand the menstrual cycle, and we can apply it to other parts of her. So, why is she getting heavy periods, painful periods? Why is there PMS? Why is she having symptoms during perimenopause? Is it perimenopause? Is it something else? So really like just mapping out what the menstrual cycle is, what the hormones do, using AI to just truly understand it so we can diagnose and treat. And so ultimately, be a hormone coach so that women don't have to deal with these horrible things, relating to the cycle. But the biggest thing we're working on is instead of having to pee in a cup to measure hormones, we're building a continual hormone wearable where you can just stick it on your arm like a glucose monitor, set it, forget it. You get all the hormone information. It tells you what to do. You take the pill, you eat the thing, whatever, and you're like golden. That's like the ultimate goal. And the challenge is that we're raising more funding for that.
Yeah. So it's like a catch 22. This great technology over here, and we need some more money to bring this to market. But that's
Yeah.
amazing. That's amazing, Amy. So for aspiring entrepreneurs in the health tech space, what's one piece of advice you would offer based on your experience with building Proov?
Yeah, so healthcare can be really daunting, right? There's lots of rules, there's FDA regulations, and you see that it takes, millions, hundreds of millions of dollars to build X, Y, or Z that these other dudes over here built. Think outside the box. Think of other things you can do, other ways you can get to your goal that aren't as expensive, right? Read the rules and interpret them a little bit differently. For example, we had to do a clinical study for our device, and I got people to purchase the devices and then ask them to be part of it. And so instead of me paying people to do it. They paid me to be part of the study. So you just kind of have to like think of other ways to do stuff, be strategic, out of the box. Just because everyone's kind of on the highway doesn't mean there's some side streets that could also get you there. So just, don't you let your vision die because of XYZ. There's always another way.
Yes. Oh, love that. Mic drop. There's always another way. Think outside of the box. Amy Beckley, everyone. Let's give her a round of applause. Thank you so much again for joining us, Amy. We really appreciate you for being here, and you still are top notch in our book.
Well, thank you so much for having me. Really enjoyed it.
That was Amy Beckley, everybody, a mission-driven founder solving real problems and building a company that's changing lives and helping families continue to thrive. So excited to have her sharing her information. Her story really sparked something with me as I remember when she first pitched. It was quite an exciting day. We were down in Austin, Texas, and she kind of brought some of that back today, and it was great to hear that story again. And there's no better time than today than to start your dream and your startup and get out there in the world and make some change. So if you're out there and you want to start up and you need help, definitely join our established network. You just simply go to go to established.network. So established spelled out .network. And then you can go to join. It's a free community. You can learn more out there, and we'd love to have you be a part of it. We're trying to help people go further faster through the network that we have built and are continuing to build. So founders helping founders, as well as investors and others that are all part of that community. So excited anyone that wants to join, please do established.network. Until next time, I'm Frank Gruber signing off. Keep building and keep dreaming. Thanks so much.
Thanks for listening to the Startup of the Year podcast. Be sure to subscribe, and we'll be back with another episode soon.